time I give a presentation, and I've given 2 in Wisdom Soup for Anne, every time I do it, she says, make it simpler. So I go back and I redraw it, and she still says, make it simpler. So hopefully I've cracked it today. But there's a piece of this that I wanted to include from the last one. So if you've seen the other presentations, they were different. This one, the start is the same, but then it changes. So hopefully that'll work. So what I do, though, is I encourage people to listen to their dreams, because they give you the answers to everything you need to do, including whether you need to get healing and so on. So they're comprehensive in about everything in your life, relationships and so on. They hold no punches. If you're in a bad relationship and you need to get out of it, they will tell you need to get out of this relationship, but it's no good for you. So there aren't boundaries in your dreams. So hopefully this is working as it is. So I start off with, why do we dream? Dreams comment on how true you're being to your life purpose, and that's what we want to do here, is align ourselves with our life purpose. But to understand that answer, we need some context. So what I want to do here, just very quickly, is give some context. So what is your life purpose? And a lot of us, what we do is we look at life and we consider like our career, our 9 to 5 or something like that, as being the main thing that we need to do in our lives. Or we consider relationships, finding a partner, having kids, raising the kids, being good to the kids, as a main thing to do in our lives. Now, there's a lot more we can say about that. They're certainly part of your life purpose. Your career may not be. If you're doing the right thing, then definitely your career is. But a lot of the times your dreams will be saying you need to focus less on your career and focus on other aspects of your being. So what I want to just get you to do is step back a little and realize that we tend to focus on physical life. We only look at the world from the physical life perspective. And that doesn't give us the answers. It'll give us a lot of enjoyment and so on in life, but it doesn't necessarily give us all the answers. But if we realize that we're a spirit first and foremost, and we start our journey in the spirit world, and we do this, we pick a lifetime in order to increase our awareness. So every one of us that's here is on a journey to increase our awareness. Another way of saying that, exactly the same, is to increase your vibration, make ourselves lighter. And so when we look at life from that perspective, the answers and the conflicts that we get into, we have a much broader perspective and a much better perspective, deeper perspective of why things might be. Before we come here, we plan our lives. We plan them in great detail. We plan our illnesses. We plan what's going to take us off the planet. And we have lots of exit points coming off the planet. We could decide, if I'm not being true to myself, that I'm going to take myself off at age 27 with some accident or whatever. So we have lots of exit points we pick. The further we stay true to our life purpose, the further along that path our exit point is going to be. I don't know why I'm getting into that. I suppose because bread is talk. But so at the planning stage, we figure out what we want to do in our life. Our guides are heavily involved in that, and so too are our parents. And a lot of people, again, when you look at life from the physical perspective, we look at our parents and say, I messed up because of my parents. My mom or my dad had issues, and I suffered as a result of that in childhood. But when we're in the spirit world, we have a dysfunction we want to eliminate. So look at it this way. Every one of us that's come here has some sort of spiritual reason for being here, a spiritual dysfunction. Now, we want to get that dysfunction transferred onto the physical plane, because we have it on the spirit plane. We want to get it onto the physical. If we work on it on the physical, and we've tried on the spirit plane and it didn't work, but if we work on it here and we eliminate it, then we eliminate it completely from our being, including on the spirit plane. So I could pick a childhood. If I feel worthless on the spirit plane, I could pick a childhood that will allow me transfer that feeling of worthlessness to the physical plane. And just looking from the physical perspective, I look at my childhood and say, my parents failed me, when really they're the first part of my success story. So looking at life just from a physical perspective doesn't give us the correct answer a lot of the time. So it was interesting, Anne's technique of looking into somebody's soul. So we plan to pick up conditioning, and it's easy for us to pick it up because we already lean that way in the spirit world, so it doesn't take much of a nudge. Maybe one event or 2 events in our childhood will do it. Once we've picked it up, we plan different stages in our life where we're going to get healed. There's a lot of healers involved in Wisdom Soup, 3 of them there, also in this room. So I think everybody's working in the experience zone here too, so you can try them all out. I'm going fast because I want to get to the spiritual gifts, which is what I said I would talk about today. So we plan to bring conditioning or to get conditioned and have issues, and that we will need healing for. We also bring spiritual gifts with us. These are things that we already have. We have these abilities from former lives usually, but we have them already. We can develop anything we want in this lifetime, but the ones that we bring with us are gems that we already have. And I'm going to show you shortly how to tell what your gifts are from your dreams. But we use these gifts to help other people. So I showed Anne, Molly, and Catherine on the last slide. So they all have healing gifts. And they would have agreed in the planning stage that they're going to develop their healing gifts to a certain point where they can get clients, and that maybe they're going to heal me at some point in my life. And their guides make them sign a contract that they're going to stick to, because if they don't develop their healing gifts and help the people that they had planned and agreed to help, then they're failing, and they're also letting everybody else down that was involved in this whole planning stage. So we often have dreams where we're asked to write a signature or show our identity, and there's generally in dreams there's something wrong with it. And those dreams are telling us that we're not being true to our identity, which is very simple, but that's true for a lot of us. So, but anyway, it's a big point that we're made sign a contract that we will develop our gifts, because the knock-on effect of not developing and using your gifts is huge. It impacts lots of other people. And trust me, when you have your review at the end of your life, you will see the impact as it rippled out. You get to experience the impact of every one of your actions from a feeling perspective, from the perspective of the people it impacted. So if your inaction or inability to develop your gifts affected one person and that knocked on and affected lots of other people, you're going to feel all that. So you really understand that from a spiritual perspective. Now, you understood it when you signed the contract, so it's not surprising you get that at the end. Again, I know I'm going fast, but you'll get fun. Physical life begins. Not all of us comes here, not all of us does. Life is a bit of a gamble. I could come here with the best of intentions, and I could really mess up, and I could reduce my awareness. I could actually lower my vibration. Very easy to do. But we plan our lives so that that doesn't really happen. But because that happens, and because of the way physical life is, only a part of us comes. So the part that stays behind is called our higher self. Our soul is the piece of our spirit that makes the journey to the physical plane. It's really we're the avatar for our soul, you could say. And dreams are the language that is used between your higher self and your soul. So this is a language that you use in the womb. You use before you're even born. A lot of people ask, why do dreams come in symbols? Well, you dream from before you could ever learn, before you ever knew how to communicate on the physical plane. So it's your first language. The fact that you don't understand it is just reflective of not really applying any lessons to it. But anyway, dreams are the dialogue between our higher self and our soul, and when we look at our dreams, we can learn a lot about ourselves, how true we are being to our life's purpose, and so on, and what is pulling us out of alignment. By interpreting our dreams, we can discover our true life purpose, discover our gifts, and a whole plethora of other things, our limiting beliefs and so on, which is usually where I go. I usually go to issues in childhood, but I know other people are going to talk about those today, because that's their area. So our dreams, again, help us align with our higher self, not surprisingly, because that's where they come from in the first place. So everybody has spiritual gifts. What are yours? How many people know what their gifts are? So it's going to get interactive here now. How many people know what their gifts are? It's interesting. A lot of people don't. And so some of you were implying you think you know what your gifts are. And again, that's really important. Well, our dream symbols are the key to telling us what our gifts are. So it's really good if you can look at your dreams and see, yes, what I'm doing, what I've spent all that money learning is what I'm meant to do. And trust me, I've met people who are doing something and spent a lot of money doing things that they're not meant to do, and they don't like to be told that, understandably. So they're key. So I was trying to think, okay, so I'm going to talk about 4 gifts. Hopefully it covers a lot of you here. 4 gifts, it's only 4. And I'm trying to make it simpler, so I was looking for another way to do it. Are you a spiritual healer? The symbolic key for a healing gift in your dreams is sources of energy or power. So if you dream of sources of energy or power, and I'll show some in a minute, then you have a spiritual healing ability. Spiritual healing or hands-on healing, they're the same thing. It's where somebody uses their hands, places them on their client, and channels energy through their body into the person receiving the healing. Now, if you can see auras and spirits, you will always see a huge spirit working with that person. They're the ones doing the detailed work, doing the surgery, you could say, but they can't do it without the person channeling the energy. They're the conduit for the energy between the two planes. The next one is a counselor. If you have that, then the key, symbolic key, is sources of knowledge and information. And I'm going to put the keys back up here as I ask you to, as we go forward. So sources of knowledge or information, because counselors, what they do is they reflect back to people what they're saying. They use their wisdom to help somebody see what they're already saying. You don't, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm digging myself into a hole because I'll need more time. Are you a channel? Well, the symbol for that is, the symbolic key is two-way communication, sources of two-way communication or references to ears. There are more, but these are the big ones that we want to cover on here. And channeling is an interesting one. A lot of people want that one. And there's about seven different ways of channeling. Heidi Brooks going to be doing 2 workshops on how to channel and identify your method later on today. But it's a really good one because you can get information directly. So when I look at somebody's dreams, I get a lot of information from the dream, but then I channel to get more information. So you're definitely going to get a lot more direct information that way because they're using your language. So the symbolic key, two-way communication and ears. And then the last one, are you psychic or intuitive? And this is one of the misused terms. So one of the difficulties with dreams is understanding the terminology to understand what the gifts are. Like I said, spiritual healing is not Reiki, it's not bioenergy. They're all good in their own right, but they're different. Spiritual healing is where you're using a spirit to channel energy, to work on the energy you channel. A psychic or an intuitive is probably the most misused word, well, psychic is. And it indicates somebody who has a strong connection with their soul. And of course, a strong connection with your soul indicates a strong connection with your higher self. So a psychic has a direct connection between themselves and their higher self. Same place dreams come from. So a lot of the time, the communication, you don't reinvent a language. People will get symbols for communication, and it's the same interpretation as it is in dreams. So the symbolic key for being a psychic is sources that eliminate darkness, and light is the obvious one there, but really the key is something that eliminates darkness. So with that in mind, we're going to have a look at some of so all the keys are on the left there. What does this represent? And this is where I want you to answer. What would the sun be out of those 4? Number 1. Why number 1? Who's saying number 1?
Because the sun is a source of energy.
Perfect. Yeah. I see what you're saying. So that's why I said the key was, so you said psychic, but this is about something that eliminates darkness. And we don't ever think of darkness during the daylight. You know, it's so powerful. So it's a source of energy. So that is a perfect symbol to indicate somebody is a hands-on healer. And even the hands in somebody's dreams indicate that. So let's have a look at another one. Power socket. Pretty obvious one, isn't it? Come on, speak up. What is it? Number 1 it is, of course. Because it's a power source of energy. So let's, using just the 2 of those, let's have a look at a dream. So this is a bit I've cut out to try and make it go faster. The waves are very dark blue. She called it the fake ocean. The waves are very dark blue and white on top, but in a strange way they look two-dimensional, like the waves used in sets on for plays. The sun was burning behind the water, but it seemed fake too. So the sun tells us from this dream that the dreamer is a hands-on healer. And the dreamer didn't know that at this time, at the time of this dream. But does this dreamer believe that they have a hands-on healing ability? And we know from other, I mean, I'm only doing tiny bits of a dream. We can see from other keywords in the dream that she says it looked fake. So this is somebody, if they gave me this dream, I know that they're not spiritual. They don't believe in the spirit world. They might believe in God, they might be religious and so on, but they definitely think that everybody that's a teacher in this room is a charlatan. Just from and we also have, given in the previous sentences, she says that the waves looked two-dimensional. And two-dimensional, of course, we live in a three-dimensional world, so to say something is two-dimensional is like it's as fake as the set on a play, on a stage on a play. So we know this person is a spiritual healer, but they don't believe it. She teaches it now, so it's interesting. A sports car. This one's probably a little bit trickier. Number one. Why is it number one? Because it's a powerful car. It's a source of power. Horses are probably one of the most common symbols to indicate this, and I didn't put it up on the slides, because we measure things in horsepower. It's just, they're a powerful animal. So, correct. The moon. What does the moon do? Number 4. Perfect. Indicates somebody who's psychic or intuitive. It's a light in the dark. It illuminates the darkness. So silver. The moon is silver. If we dream of silver, it's probably a little bit trickier, but now that I've said it, that the moon has the silver color, it's easy to tell that this one also represents light because of the connection to the color of the moon. If it was a gold coin, then it would indicate that the dreamer was a healer. That's how it works. And then we could also look at the "in God we trust." So if this indicates somebody who's psychic and they had this dream, then it's saying you don't trust your own intuitive connection. And so you need to work on that and develop it more. Is this making sense? Great. So let's have a look at another dream. I enter, and of course, cut down again. She called it the silver chain. I entered a jewelry shop to buy a gold chain. So we know the gold is about spiritual healing, and the dreamer wants to buy that. The jeweler offered me a silver chain. We know silver is about being a psychic or intuitive. I refused, as I only wanted a gold one. The shopkeeper would not give me the gold one and kept saying that the silver one was already mine. Well, now you understand why, because her higher self is saying, you're a psychic, you're not a healer. Don't invest money in learning to be a healer. This person actually learned to be a bioenergy healer, interestingly enough. And I say interestingly because Molly Grove is going to be giving demonstrations of bioenergy later. But every time she worked on her clients, she got sick. And this is your higher self's way of saying, I'm showing you I can pull the plug. There's no point to being here and not doing what you came here to do. You're not helping. Like, if you are trying to help other people with a healing gift that you do not have, they didn't have a contract with you in the first place. So it's for somebody else to be working with them. So this dreamer then doesn't listen to the authority in the dream, which is the shopkeeper. So she didn't want to do that. I don't know if she still practices it or not, but I hope she doesn't. Newspapers. Number 2, perfect, yeah. A source of information. Magazines, then they're going to be the same thing. So let's have a look at another dream. Trading cars. I was in a car salesman's office. He was sitting behind his desk talking on the phone. I went in to ask him if I could trade my car for the red sports car on the forecourt. So what's the sports car? We know it's healing. He was annoyed at me for interrupting him and was pointing to the telephone. I walked closer to his desk. There were magazines and books, which I think should highlight here. Magazines and books spread across. Yes. So this dreamer wants to be a healer. And in this case, she wanted to be a healer because she saw, I can't remember the name of the guy, but it was a Chinese healer years ago. And he gave a talk, a presentation in Wembley Stadium in England. Filled the whole stadium. And she thought, I could make money doing that. So her thing was, but that's understandable. We have to make ends meet. But she decided that she could make money being a healer. Now, I'm not going to ask you to do this, but the healers in this room that are making money, please raise your hands. Don't raise your hands. But are you making enough to make ends meet? It's crazy to think that she thought she could do it. But it's always easy to say, well, I got the bad gift. If I had that one, the one you have, I'd have no problem, And of course, she's looking at somebody who's very successful at it. But that was part of his journey. So anyway, this one is saying that she wants to trade. I'm afraid to touch anything because I think it might mess up. But she wants to trade her car for, so basically her karma, which is what the car represents. Her karma is to be a counselor. And we also know it because the magazines and books are on a table. And anything that's on a table, especially in front of a guide like in this dream, or an authority in a dream, is what's on the cards for you. This is what's on the table for you, not the other thing. And guides quite often in dreams do like he's doing. They're not directly saying, they just want you to figure it out, which is very annoying for a lot of people. But you can still tell from your dreams what it is. So why would your guide not let you change your karma? Because they can't. because you've signed a contract. There's lots of people already on the physical plane waiting for your counseling, and you're never going to develop it because you're an ass. So you are really letting people down. And so your guides are not going to say, you know, we'll make an exception for you. It just doesn't work that way. You have to stick to your life plan or suffer the consequences, which this person will. Lovely person. It's not a reflection of the people. So yeah, I covered the trade the car. So let's have a window. What would a window be? Four. It is number 4. It is light, because it lets light into a room. Okay? So it represents a psychic or an intuitive. Very common symbol in dreams. Telephone boxes. Communication, obvious one. The internet. Communication again. The mail system. Even if it is just a stamp. Communication, exactly. It's an extremely common one in dreams. To get a letter in your dream indicates you're a channel. Probably one of the most common. Headphones. Communication again. So this would indicate somebody who's clairaudient. So there's lots of different ways of communication, of hearing your guides. Some people hear them like somebody else speaking in the room. So it indicates that too. That's going to seem like they're all that. Earrings. Communication again, because it's connected with the ears. Same with the headphones, because they're connected with ears. Anything connected with ears in a dream is going to be about your channeling ability. So, the candles here. What are the candles? What did you say? Light, exactly. Yeah. And so the fact that they're birthday candles is interesting, because that would mean that your reason for coming here, the whole purpose for your birth, was to develop your intuitive connection, your psychic connection, and use that in your life. So birth shows up a lot in dreams. And it's always great if you see birth in a dream, you know you're going to see what somebody's life purpose is. You know what their gifts are, because they're the most important thing. They're the most important thing because it's how you're going to repay your karmic debts to other people. Now here's the problem, and I don't have this on the slide, but I want to say it. When you know what your gifts are, we generally have issues that we need to overcome before we can use those gifts. And that's what other people in this room are for. Your dreams will point out what those issues are and tell you what way you got damaged. But remember, the damage was only facilitated by your parents. It was there from long before. And your parents are allowing you transfer something onto the physical plane that you had in spades on the spirit plane. And by working through it on the physical plane, you can finally clear it completely. And that's why the gamble is there. There's a connection kept between your higher self and you. So if you go the wrong way, your higher self vibration goes down. If you go the right way, it raises. But the gamble's worth it, because almost all the time we improve. And we also do small increments, and we limit ourselves over and over in lots of ways to make sure that we don't go down the wrong track. So we had light on that one. Peril, any idea on that one? What is that? Knowledge, exactly. So that indicates somebody who's a counselor. Pearl of wisdom. I wanted to put a snake up here, but I forgot about that. So flying with an eagle. So this is my last bit. I'm not sure if I flew through this or not. And I'm going to read it here because I can see all the text on this one. So this is, I've got a few things on this, but I wanted to give an idea of the detail you can get out of a dream, because here we were just looking at bits to figure out your gifts. But you see how simple it is. Now, I've got a book that I didn't bring here, but I have it in the other room, that has a list of all the symbols and what they mean. And they're all taken from real dreams that I've interpreted over the years. But flying with an eagle, this dream gives you an idea of the detail that you can get out of a dream. So a method that I often use is look at the symbols that indicate particular gifts. So we have, without reading the whole thing, well, let's see. I was on top of a mountain on a sunny day and I jumped off it. I was flying very, very high over lots of mountains that were brown and green. I felt very light and free when I was flying. After some time, this big eagle joins me for the ride and we fly together. He leads me to a point where there is a valley and I land in front of a fortune teller's table. She has a stand where she sells jewelry. She says to me, take these earrings and put them on you. I put them on and she says that I will look and hear much better with them. I actually felt very beautiful after putting them on. So there's a gift in here that I didn't do. I should have put a picture of it up. But an eagle, and then we have another thing, the fortune teller. But there's no need to interpret what a fortune teller represents in a dream. But an eagle indicates the same thing. And the symbolic key for fortune telling is an ability to see far ahead on your path. Now, you might be able to, in your dream, you might know what's around the corner, and that's the same thing. So you're driving your car in your dream, and you know up around the corner there's an accident. That also indicates fortune telling, because the symbolic key is I can see a distance. And an eagle, because of its eyesight and because it's flying so high, is a really good symbol for that. So that indicates somebody who's prophetic. It's not a very common gift. Earrings, we already know. And then the references to being able to hear better. And flying with a guide, which we don't have, is another one. They all indicate that the dreamer is a clairaudient channel. So the other thing that the dream says here is that she needs to sell the jewelry. So this is like jewelry or anything in a dream has a precious value, like a gift, like that represents your spiritual gifts. So the dreamer is being given permission in this dream to use her spiritual abilities in a commercial fashion. So a lot of people don't. In fact, when I got into dream work, in Ireland it was commonly perceived that you should never charge for any what they call God-given abilities, which is absolutely crazy, you know, because you could argue with your accountant or tax accountant, you know, it's a God-given gift, you should do this for free. That's the opposite. That's devaluing your ability, you know, if you don't charge. And it used to be a thing. I don't think, it's probably not a thing in America, but it certainly was in Ireland. So given permission to use her gifts commercially. So what I wanted to do was go through the dream again and just read it like it's intended. So just looking at the symbols, it says, I'll go over here because it'll be easier. My jumping off point, so this is the message from the higher self. My jumping off point is to meditate. That's what flying symbolically represents raising your vibration, because you can't fly. It's just your vibration you can work on. Jump off point is to meditate, and to do that, to raise my vibration, and practice being light and free. I'm to do this for some time, and after a period of time, when I've been meditating, I will suddenly connect with my guides. I don't need to do anything else. All I need to do is meditate, and then this connection will happen automatically for me. Why? Because I practiced it in the spirit plane for ages. And when I get comfortable with my guides, when we're flying together for some time, my guide would lead me to develop my prophetic gift, which I also have, which is on the table for me. So I talked about tables before. And I'm to use it commercially, we've got that from before, along with my clairaudient gift. And that will help me see my inner beauty. Doing all of that will help me see. So for some people, you can go and you can do a course and you'll be taught this is how to channel. This person's path is to figure it out on her own. She needs to do it that way because she needs that pick-me-up. That's what's going to help her to realize that she is able to do things herself. So we never know with a person unless we look at their dreams or channel or lots of other ways. But from the physical plane, we don't know what somebody's life purpose is. It definitely is not in the spiritual field. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and it can't be. And dreams always reveal that. So that's it. I've probably raced through it and made up some of your time, Anne. But if you want to, what time is it? What time do we have? I know we're actually meant to finish right now. All right, so I will be at one of the tables at 4 o'clock. If anybody has dreams they want me to interpret, please come over, talk to me. Has anybody got any questions about anything I've said? Please.
What happens if you don't remember much?
Yeah, I've had people that have done my course and say I don't remember dreams. But they always have dreams they remember from childhood. And the other thing is, there are techniques for remembering your dreams, and they work. So I could talk about them at the table, but, well, one really easy one is to take a glass of water to bed, cup your hands around it, that it's not, your hands aren't touching each other, and just imagine energy flowing between your hands, between the palms of your hands, going through the water and charging it. Then drink half the water and cover it up, and say to yourself while you're doing that you're going to remember your dreams. In the morning, drink the rest of the water, and you will always remember dreams when you do that. That's just one of lots of techniques. But really, what you're doing is you're telling yourself that dreams are important. People who go on vacation they remember the dreams better because they're getting more sleep. So usually not remembering your dreams means that you're burning the candle at both ends for some reason. And so that's not always a good idea. On the app, I should say on the app, I'm going to do, so this is kind of an old slide. On the app, I'm going to release my 12-part tutorial on dream interpretation, so there's a lot more detail in it than what we just covered here. Probably not simple enough for Anne's liking. And there's also great discounts on the app for the next couple of days. So, anybody else? Yeah?
Just a quick question. So do people often have more than one gift?
Oh yeah, yeah, very common. Everybody has at least one, but most,
Everybody has at least one?
yes, but most people have more than one.
Can you have all 4?
Yes, you can have way more than 4. And it doesn't indicate, it doesn't necessarily indicate your level, it just indicates what you need in order to achieve your life purpose. Because think about a channel and their ability to communicate with spirits. You can definitely do that if you just wait till you die. So, you know, there's, you only bring what you need to bring. Anybody else? Thank you very much.